Hey everyone, Hazz here. Today I'll be showing you how to fight Peni Parker. So Peni Parker is definitely an interesting one. She's a little bit new. She came out I believe in August last year, and her main mechanic is auto block. That's the main thing that makes her annoying, and it's got very few counters because the standard counters don't really work against her. She's also kind of annoying on certain nodes in Alliance War and things like that as well. So overall she can just be a nuisance to deal with, especially because she's a bit newer, so people don't really understand her abilities, they don't really understand what's going on, they don't understand what Spider Sense charges do and all the rest of it. So I thought it would be good to just kind of break her down a bit and understand what people will have trouble with and how we can go about beating her. So let's have a quick dive into her abilities. Her Sig ability isn't going to be really necessary for this, but just know that it counters Nick Fury and other champions that can heal or gain power really well. But the main thing here, if you're just going to look at just below that, the always active part. So she's immune to poison and incinerate. This makes her pretty much a default Archangel counter because Archangel really needs poison to be able to deal his damage. Also, you see the second point, opponents suffer negative 100% true strike accuracy and true sense effective ability accuracy. What this means is that champions like Moleman, like Null, like Heimdall, like Red Goblin, and Hercules, champions that have true something to try and ignore the auto block, it just won't work. Their abilities will fail, and this makes her auto block really hard to counter because usually if you go against auto block champs, you use those sorts of champions with those sorts of abilities to counter her. However, here it doesn't really work. So for her main mechanic, we're talking about the Sync Shield. The Sync Shield is kind of like, you can think of it a bit like Invisible Woman's Force Field, where you hit her to get to kind of whittle it down, and this is kind of what helps her to auto block and also take no block damage as well. And so when you hit her on the block, this shield will decrease over time. However, if she activates her Spider Sense charges, then she can auto block you, and then the shield will just like pretty much auto block for her and take all the damage. So let's have a look at that here. So when she would be struck, there's an 8% chance per Spider Sense charge to consume 4 charges, and then she also purifies stun debuffs and then also auto block for 2 seconds. So what this means is if she has any Spider Sense charges, so she can get them from like Special 1, for example, if you bait Special 1s, and then you could try to hit her, she has a chance to auto block for 2 seconds. It also purifies stun debuffs, which is kind of annoying as well. And there's another point here, which is it doesn't trigger parry, and it cannot be prevented by ability accuracy. That means that it counters Magneto as well. It also inflicts some power burn, so if you get auto blocked, not only is she just blocking your attacks, but she's also going to be dealing quite a lot of damage to you as well. And you can see here she's also stun immune and she power locks the opponent, which is kind of annoying, and she can also block heavy attacks with this as well, so heavy attacks won't really bypass her auto block either. Now looking at her Special 1, this is how she gains Spider Sense charges. After activation, gain 4 Spider Sense charges, so that's how she gains some charges there as well. But Special Attack 2 I wouldn't recommend baiting, it's kind of hard to dex, so you end up just blocking it. I just find Special 1 easier and then dealing with the auto block. So moving into our first fight here, we have Anti-Venom. And Anti-Venom doesn't really do anything particularly great against Peni. I just kind of picked a random champion to kind of showcase how you don't want to fight Peni, as I've shown in the last couple of videos. So you see here we're going for a combo, you get power burned, she auto blocks, and it's just a bad time, we lose a lot of health. That can happen in like war and stuff, and you can lose a significant amount of health. So knowing how to like stop that is really important. So we're just going in here, I'll show you again. Special 1 bait, pretty easy to dex, and then you go in, you just take a bunch of damage, but it's terrible. So let's start going into some problems that you run into with Peni as well. Not just when you're fighting clumsily like that with Anti-Venom, but also when you actually try and counter her with someone like Hercules. So going in here, we can see, going for a heavy. The first one landed, we managed to get it off without her triggering the auto block, but the second one you see here, she actually auto blocks us. I don't know what's up with that. She didn't seem to like deal any power burn damage. She's supposed to resist heavies and then deal the damage back, but maybe it's a bug or something. I'm not really sure 100% about that. Then I don't know, this whiffed for some reason, but the point is that my true sense didn't activate. Same thing here. I don't know, she didn't quite block the heavy attack. I don't know what's up with that. Usually she does. You can see here I took a bunch of power burn damage there. So yeah, as you can see, like, you just take a bunch of power damage even if you try to activate True Sense, or you try to activate loads of different abilities. Usually it just ends up not working out for you. Following on from the True Sense, we're looking at True Accuracy now with Moleman. Same thing kind of applies. You see here we go for a heavy, ability failed. That's just telling us that true strike will not work, or true accuracy in this case. See here again, just keep on saying ability failed. Gonna go in here and try and punish her, but you see we get auto blocked. Again, you know, ability failed. So true strike, true accuracy, true sense, it doesn't really work in this scenario with Peni here. You know, we showed it with Hercules, now showing it with Moleman. So yeah, it's really not a good idea to bring true strike or those sort of true type champs to try and counter her. Next up, we're going to be looking at ability accuracy reduction. First up, starting with Falcon. So you can see here, I'm just going in for combos. I'm trying to showcase that his lock-on can't really reduce her chance to auto-block. You can see how I'm going for a lock-on. She's now locked on, managed to get an intercept, but you see here, we still get auto-block, we still take power burn damage. So, you know, ability accuracy reduction can't really work either. Following on, you can see here we've got Magneto. This fight is going to kind of segue from the problems to the solutions. So even though Mag's ability accuracy can't really shut down Peni's auto block, Magneto actually has an auto block counter in his kit, so he can actually make auto block fail, and that means that he doesn't really have to deal with any of the side effects of Peni Parker's abilities. So you see here we're just going for a few heavy attacks, just trying to build up prowess. We do take a bit of power burn damage. She does purify the stun, but usually you can kind of get by with Magneto and kind of counter her pretty decently. You see we do take some power burn damage, but overall he can actually work for Peni. So you're going for a big special. She's almost down, so yeah, Magneto can definitely do this fight as long as it's not like stacked nodes against Magneto's, you know, base rotation, but he can definitely do the fight. Moving on here, we got Venom, who's like the proper first counter that I want to mention, and he's actually a pretty interesting option for Peni because he can bypass her power burn with his power burn immunity against tech champions. However, the issue is that when he's inflicted with an incinerate, his Clintar buff goes away and it kind of disables that power burn immunity. And the thing with Peni is that if you fill a bar of power and then you try to heal while you're heal blocked as well, then you're gonna lose that Clintar buff because she's gonna inflict instant incinerate damage on you. So if you cross a bar of power and then heal some health or try to heal, then it's not really going to go too well because you're going to lose the Clintar buff, so you can no longer counter her auto block. However, you know, generally if you play the fight quite well, you can see here we're still able to ignore that, and it pops up with immune to let us know that we're immune to the power burn damage, and she goes down. Next up, we've got probably one of the most popular counters. It's Venom Pool. Now Venom Pool doesn't really rely on the same things that Venom does. He doesn't rely on the Clintar buff for the power burn immunity, he has that naturally. So the thing with Venom Pool is that he's pretty much the best. He's not the best counter for Peni, but he's very good at countering the power burn part of Peni. He's probably the best counter to the power burn part. You know, he can't really do with the auto block, but in terms of the power burn itself, he can deal with it very well because he's just flat out immune. He doesn't need anything beforehand. Plus, he's a pretty solid champ on his own. And he's got some solid damage and a solid utility to get by nodes and stuff. It's really just the auto block that he has trouble with, but that can't even trigger parry, so it's not a huge deal if she's just auto blocking. The main thing is the power burn damage. So yeah, as you can see, auto blocks, but we're immune. So, you know, like I said, he's a very good counter to Peni. I've seen a few War Boss solos of Peni Parker with Venom Pool, and he's definitely an excellent option for her. If anyone has a ranked up Venom Pool and there's a Peni Parker mini or boss, definitely assign that fight to Venom Pool because he's a fantastic counter. But next up here we've actually got Super Skrull. Now Super Skrull is a pretty terrible champion, considered by most people to be probably one of the worst champions of last year. However, he's a very good counter to Peni Parker, and that's because of his Undermine buff that he gets. Undermine, not many people know about it, but it grants unblockable to any attack that's auto blocked. So that means any sort of attack that attempts to be auto blocked, he just breaks through. So that means he ignores Peni's auto block and her power burn damage as well, because she's not actually auto blocking anything, so he can't be power burned or auto blocked by Peni, which is really fantastic. Makes him one of the best options, and because he's actually able to access this buff super easily, I would consider him one of the top options, even though he's a trash champion. If you're just going for a Peni Parker and you need a reliable champion for it, Super Skrull's definitely up there. However, the one bad thing is that Peni Parker's incinerate immune, so all of his damage pretty much goes out the window because his damage is really bad without incinerate. You know, he doesn't get Nova Fists, he can't get his Incinerate on special 2, so his damage is very bad because his Furies do not much for him at all. So if you need a Peni Parker counter in like story mode, then he can work if you have him ranked up, but in War I would not recommend him, just because his damage is not that good and he might actually end up timing out because his damage is so bad. But I would say for like most story stuff, if there's like not many nodes, he can work if you have no other options or there are limited options. He's definitely one of the best counters, but he's not one of the best champions for Peni, if that makes sense. Okay, just segueing on from the unblockable as part of the Undermine, we're talking about Hercules' immortality and unblockable in general. So unblockable is a very good counter to Peni Parker because she can't auto-block unblockable. Simple as that. You can see in this clip that I'll show again, she auto-blocks the first hit, but then we go immortal and then we just break through a block and that's it. So as long as you can keep this unblockable up, which Hercules usually can, if you watch my 3-minute immortality video, you can probably keep it up for around about a minute against Peni. So that's like quite a long time to be immortal, and usually you can take it down within that time. You know, Hercules is insane burst damage and such, so he's a very good option if you can get immortal. Now this is going to be the last proper counter that I show for the video. Now of course there are lots more counters to Peni Parker that I'm not listing in this video, however I don't want to keep the video too long. So I'm just giving you a few options that I quite like. So looking at Immortal Hulk here, this is kind of the same thing as Hercules. He can go Immortal, which makes him a pretty good counter. Okay, now I'm going to look at just how to fight her with any normal champion, because I know a lot of you guys were kind of looking at this. So the way you want to fight her with a normal champion is simply wear out her shield, because when she doesn't have a shield active, she cannot auto block you, and then she can't inflict a power burn. So the way you wear out her shield is by hitting her block. If you hit her block, it'll do no damage to her directly, however it's gonna exhaust her shield instead. The shield has 100 strength, however each hit, especially if you have a decent amount of attack rating through the block, you can get it down pretty quickly. Sometimes it might take a bit of time, but generally speaking you can get it down pretty quickly, and you don't have to worry about her auto block for another 20 seconds, which is quite a long amount of time. See here, we're baiting a special one. We're going in here, just trying to hit her block. We're trying to make a force block. We're going to hit her block. See, she's got 13 Spider Sense charges, so she's pretty much definitely going to auto block us. So we're just trying to wear out her shields so that we don't end up taking a bunch of power burn damage and her auto blocking us and everything like that, because that is her main annoyance as a defender. So you can see here we're just kind of being passive to try and make her hold block. That's kind of what I do, just dash back, hold block, kind of bait out a block if you want to call it like that. And you see here we're just slowly whittling down her sync shield, which is again how we counter her auto block. So you can see here now, it's when it goes grey and it starts the timer, that's when we can start hitting her. You see here, no auto block at all. So yeah, that's how you counter her with pretty much any champion. Bait special 1s and then make sure her shield is down. Special 2, again, you can bait special 2, but I prefer to just bait special 1 because special 2 I find it hard to dex personally. Now just a quick summary as I've done the last few videos. I just want to say that the best counter for her is probably unblockable. Again, Undermine is quite good from Super Scroll. If more champs have that in the future, I'll be sure to mention it. But yeah, unblockable is probably the best counter. You know, you have certain other champs that can deal with it, but I'd say unblockable overall is the best counter. Power burn, immunity is quite good as well, because it means you don't take any damage back. Champs that don't deal much contact damage, or champions that can, through one mean or another, deal passive damage, so like Omega Red and Quake might be alright, because they can deal damage without hitting the opponent. In addition, make sure you don't use True Strike, True Accuracy, or True Sense, or anyone like that. Ability Accuracy Reduction as well, that just won't work with her, so watch out for that. And most importantly, if you don't have a direct counter, whittle down her shield and then just hit her. Because remember, when she doesn't have her shield active, she can't auto block you, so there's really no threat to Peni Parker once her shield is down. So remember, you try and get her to force block. If you don't have a counter, try and get her to force block. Hit her block multiple times until you see the shield expire. It'll go grey, and that's kind of your key to go attack and then win the fight. But again, I do recommend bringing counter, especially for something like Alliance War, so like unblockable champs do really well. But yeah, if you don't have a counter for whatever reason and you need to take Peni, just doing the method I suggested of hitting her block, getting her shield down, and then you're able to kind of not get auto blocked and win the fight. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helped you, because I know people have been in trouble with Peni Parker. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.